It's being live streamed. All right. All right, we're on. We're going to wait a couple of minutes, but we, to get some other folks on at 7 o'clock. Guys, now's the time for you guys to start sharing this live with your network. But I want to thank you all so very much for joining and being a part of this event tonight, James and Johnny. It's very important. It's a very important topic that we'll be discussing. Something that I think that our viewers, our listeners will definitely be able to appreciate. So let's give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll get it going.
On the COVID-19 page, right?
Yes, but you should have gotten the invite already. You should have received the invite.
Yeah, I see it say live. I'm just trying to find it so I can repost it.
She should have sent you the invite to your own personal Facebook page. So just look in there, and you will see it, and then you can go from there.
Okay.
For you and Jonathan.
Maybe it'll pop up.
We're going to start in 1 minute.
I'm trying to get mine.
For those of you who are joining in right now, we encourage you to get your family members. If you got any men in the house, this is Men's Health Month. We encourage you to get the men, young men. This is going to be, a teenage adult conversation. I would like for you to get those involved. If you are a loved one of someone that you think that should be listening to this conversation, we're going to have a real heart-to-heart conversation about matters that deals with men's health overall. And we're going to do it from a cultural perspective as well. So hopefully you'll get something out of it. If you have any questions or comments, we encourage you to make sure that you put your comments in the chat box. We have somebody that will share that information with us, and we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. So just give us 1 minute, and then we'll get started. All right. There we go. Good evening. My name is Ruban Roberts. I am the CEO of RER Consulting Enterprise. And tonight we're here celebrating Men's Health Month. And I have two very distinguished guests, guys who work in the community, and they're going to be able to speak to the issues regarding men's health. Men's health is not limited to just medical health. We're going to also be speaking about mental health as well, and wellness. So we encourage you to get your family members. We encourage you to bring folks and share the link for them to participate in the discussion, tonight's discussion. As I mentioned, I am the CEO of RER Consulting. Two of our signature programs are the COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program, which is a part of this tonight's event, and the other is Teen Talk. I'll give you more information about those programs as we proceed later on tonight. But right now, I have the great pleasure of having two good friends of mine that I want to have this discussion with. It's just a chat amongst men, and I think that you all will be able to definitely benefit from this. So I'm going to introduce James Munch first. And James, say a little bit about yourself. and then we'll go to John.
You know, I'm always lost as like what I'm supposed to say. You know what I'm saying? But basically, I'm an entrepreneur, born and raised Liberty City. I got a company, All Like Minds production company, specializing in audio, video production, and live streaming. And we pretty much we focus on community for the most part. We like to go in the community. We've done a lot of work with Affirming Youth, my Be Me brother over here, Jonathan, as it relates to their content production and things like that. So yeah, I keep it short.
All right, thanks so very much, James. I'm sorry for calling you by your government, Munch. We affectionately call him Munch, but thank you for sharing that. Jonathan, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I am Jonathan Spikes, the founder and executive director of the Affirming Youth Center. I am a doctoral candidate right now in social work at the University of Southern California. And my specialty is firearm-related violence and social and structural determinants of health. And thank you, Mr. Roberts, for having this great conversation today.
Thank you so very much. You do a lot of work in the community. Really appreciate you both. And definitely, this is going to be a very informative discussion that we have tonight. But we don't want it to be just amongst ourselves, the ones who are on here. I want you to make sure that you log on to your Facebook pages, of course, and whatever comments or questions that you may have, please feel free to ask whatever questions that you may have regarding men's health and men's mental health as well, and wellness. And so, as I mentioned to you before, this is Men's Health Month. And so what we're doing is this, we're starting off RER Consulting along with the COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program. We're starting a first of a series of workshops and Wednesday talks. This is the Wednesday Wellness Talk. And so what we're doing today will be happening every Wednesday at this time at 7 o'clock on this same page. We'll be making sure that you guys get access to the flyers and the information so that you can participate. And we'll be having some very, exciting guests coming up in the future to discuss this. We're not going to only do this for the month of June, which is Men's Health Month. We're going to also be doing this throughout. So you can expect to hear more about our Wednesday wellness talks. And if you have any ideas about topics that you want to discuss, we welcome you to bring those topics to the table as well. So again, we have James Mungin and Jonathan Spike tonight as our guests. And I want to start off this question from a healthcare perspective. So in terms of men's health, I want to start off by asking you, Jonathan, when's the last time you had a checkup?
You muted.
You're muted. You're muted, Jonathan. You're muted.
I had a checkup last month. I am a 9-year cancer survivor.
All right, congratulations.
Yes, thank you for that. In 2013, I was given a 3-year prognosis, and thanks be to God and faith, and sure wasn't my time yet. I am still here to celebrate and have this discussion.
So how did you discover that you were, that you had cancer? Was it something that, going on a regular checkup, or something that led you to go see the doctor? How did that, you don't have to give us all the sordid details, but just give us a cursory.
I'm glad you asked that question, and thank you for that thoughtful question. I was having a lot of heartburn that I ignored and was taking Rolaids and Pepto-Bismol and baking soda that went on for a very long time, significant long time. And thanks be to God that I had hot wings for lunch, and when I got home, I had spaghetti. So all the acidic made me have abdominal pains, and I had to go to the emergency room. And when I went to the emergency room, it was discovered that it was actually cancer.
Oh my God. So you caught it in a timely, at an early stage, evidently.
Middle stage. I caught it in the middle stage. It was just about to spread throughout the body. But that goes to show that we think some minute things like heartburn and not thinking much about it. And keep recurring, we should go and get it checked.
So what is your advice to those who are listening, men who may be experiencing some pains and maybe experiencing some things? What is your recommendation to those men about getting their health checked out?
Health is wealth. Do not be afraid to go to the doctor to tell them what's wrong, because something minuscule can turn into something greater if you continue to ignore it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And Munch, now it's on you. When was the last time you got a checkup, Munch?
It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm just keeping it G. I went through this phase where I just didn't want to deal with hospitals. Like 10 years ago, I had a traumatic experience, and I just was like, I'm done with hospitals. So, but I do have Dr. Armin Henderson. He just opened up his urgent care. So, I've been getting my checkups and stuff through him. I think I'm gonna take it more serious now because he's there, like right next in proximity to me. I think it was a lot of compounded issues, whether it was affordable health care, different things that was going on. So I just put it off. I've always been like a person in good health. When you're young, you think like, oh, I don't need a doctor. But and thank God I haven't had no real like issues or nothing like that. But anytime I had a question, anytime I've dealt with anything, I usually just consult Armin, and Armin pretty much helps us out. So he may tell us, hey, you may need to do this. He'll tell you, hey, go see the doctor, go to the ER. But I haven't had no scares or nothing like that.
So you said something I think is extremely important. For those of you who don't know, Armin Henderson is a Black physician. And he does a lot of work with Valencia Gunda and the Homeless Smile Project, and he does a lot of community work in general. So one of the things and one of the factors that we have when we talk about men's health is that there are a lot of us that, as Munch said, are in between health insurance, whether it be because of a job situation or that sort of thing. And sometimes we may be having symptoms, but we just feel like we can't afford to get the help that we need. But you have practitioners out there like Armin that will help you. And that's one of the things I want you to be aware of. Later on, you'll see in our chat, you'll see our website where you can go there if you have any questions about affordable health care. One of our strategic partners will be the Jesse Trice Family Center. And so those are places that you can go to find affordable health care. But not only that, one of the other things that I must say that I think a lot of men, Black men in particular, have issue with is, receiving information from someone who they consider a trusted source. Mm-hmm. So making sure, and I know James, he's very, very, very cautious about where he gets his information from, a Munch, as we affectionately call him. And so one of the things I know that for those of you who have loved ones who you're trying to get to the doctor, they may be concerned about who the physician is that's seeing them and providing whatever medical assistance or diagnosis. And so if you can find someone that is culturally competent, someone that understands you from a cultural perspective, someone that knows how to communicate with you from a cultural perspective, it's very important that you connect with those. Now, when you may ask the question, what does he mean by a cultural perspective? So I'm going to give you an example. So there's this older lady who's diagnosed with diabetes. She goes to the doctor. The doctor tells her that her sugar levels are high. So she comes home, the doctor gives her a pamphlet, and tells her you need to take this medication, and you need to do X, Y, and Z. She goes home to her family, and the family says, well, what did the doctor say? Oh, the doctor said, I just got a little touch of sugar. Just got a little touch of sugar. And she said, but they keep giving me all these pamphlets about diabetes. I ain't got no diabetes. I just got a little taste of sugar. I don't know what this diabetes thing is that they're talking about. And so here is where that cultural competency piece comes in, because A doctor that understands your culture and understands where you're from, knows how to communicate to you in a language that is receptive, something that may make the difference in you following some of the guidance that that doctor is giving you, or totally ignoring it because you feel like this doctor doesn't understand your particular situation. So in terms of mental health and in terms of medical health, we definitely want to make sure that we consider having cultural competent people. Now, the other thing that I like is that both Jonathan and Munch talked about their own advocacy. So even though you may have some issues concerning affordability, or may have some issues where you have reoccurring issues going on, but you didn't really act on it. At some point, they both acted. At some point, they took action. And sometimes it may take family members like yourself who are on this Zoom, who's watching now, that may need to encourage the men to take further action. Don't stop. No matter how much resistance that you get, don't stop. Continue to encourage them, to continue to motivate them about the healthcare issues. So we talked about it. I'm glad that you both were very transparent. I must say, I just had a call today with my physician. And so I did the telehealth care thing, and we had a great discussion. I just went through something with my sinuses, and I shared it with him. But I've been very, very proactive, especially after I turned 40, in terms of making sure that I get the medical attention that I need. James mentioned earlier, when you're younger, you feel like you're invincible.
Can I say something to that?
Yeah.
Because I ain't gonna lie, like early on, like cancer ran, like I used to be like real health conscious because cancer ran in my family. Like I know all like my family history of like issues. So when it comes to cancer, I know that was one thing. Diabetes is another thing, and I've been lucky to not just touch the surface on that stuff. So I kind of watch it from a perspective. But then Chadwick Boseman, he had prostate cancer. You know what I'm saying? He died like real young, and then and that hit home because my dad, who just recently passed in January, he had prostate cancer. So so it making me think at 30, 32, 33, Chadwick Boseman was real young. You know what I'm saying? I think it was just over 40, if that. So it just make you think about like, all right, I need to go check on these things, because that's prostate. The prostate is one of those things you can't kind of like if you how to say it, like you can't gauge it. You know what I'm saying? And cancer is one of those things, like it can exist for a while and you won't even know.
Exactly.
Silent killer.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that got me like, I gotta, especially now that I'm getting older, I'm like, I gotta start figure something out. You know what I'm saying? To go get a regular checkup, because you just never know.
So what do you say to people in your age range or a little bit younger? What do you say to them to motivate them about taking their health seriously?
To me, we mind each other's business, but at the same time, like I got friends and we talk about it. Like, I'm just being honest, because we don't like to talk about that stuff often, but a lot of times it comes up, and then the older you get, the more the conversation happens. So so I don't, for me, I know amongst my friends, we've started to have like health conversations.
Really?
As years pass, yeah, like real health conversations about like, yo, did you go, like what's your family history, like how are you eating and nutrition and diet, because everybody want to get right for the summer, but I tell people, what are you doing 365? You know what I mean? Everybody want a city boy summer, hot girl summer, but like what you doing, like that may be dangerous. I had a friend who like he tried like a lot of people dying young too,
Right.
Stroking out, like strokes, like real stroke. And so for me, it hits home, and we talk about it seldomly, not a lot, but it do come up when you see these deaths like in the public eye, and they're really young, or somebody who's like, now that we getting older, like people like my old high school classmates, something may happen to them. You like, dang, they was only they was only the same age as me. So it make
Right.
you think a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I must say that, you know, you younger guys are a lot different than the older guys, because we didn't talk about our personal stuff like that. You know, we talk about everything else under the sun, but we didn't talk, you know, very rarely that I, you know, have close friends that we talked about medical conditions and that sort of thing. So Jonathan, I know you got something to say about this. So talk about, you know, what it is that you want to share and whatever else that you want to add, you know, to someone to, you know, motivate, you know, your friends. Do you have these type of discussions with your friends, or, you know, talk about what your
Yes,
experience?
I do have a lot of discussions with my friends about wellness, right? So whatever wellness is. So that's even with my own self. I started back working out, and working out is getting on a treadmill for 30 minutes a day. You know how hard that is to get my heart rate up to 147? My goodness, for 30 minutes.
Right.
But I'm enjoying that challenge, and it's been challenging. It's difficult to make it to 30 minutes. So
I can understand.
but I'm trying to go Monday through Friday to help me relieve tension, to help me relieve stress. And the reason that came about is because in the office, we tend to have these discussions with one another, because we do know that the type of work I do as a clinical mental health counselor is that it's a heavy stress load. And as a college student right now, it's a heavy stress load. And so what can I do to ensure that I'm alive when it's time to graduate next year? So whatever steps I could take, I listen to others and take advice, and maybe cut back on the cakes that I love so much and the sweet potato pies, and been trying to hit that treadmill for these 30 minutes to get my heart rate up to 147 within those 30 minutes. So it's challenging. And yes, we do talk about it so we can have the best health, best life possible, because without health, you can't do anything. I don't care how much money you have. Without health, none of it matters.
Exactly. So I'm glad that you shared that. And I want you guys, I mean, some of the things I just heard. So what's important is that the discussions are happening. So for men, you're hearing it from 3 men right here. It's okay to talk to your friends about health issues. And it's okay to really, you know, really explore and you know, try to get that support emotionally, physically, that support for the health issues. It's okay to really look at what's going on in terms of, Munch mentioned it, about family history, knowing your family history. Because if you're predisposed genetically to certain illnesses, and some of them are the same, hypertension. If your parents have hypertension, they're diabetic, you know, whatever it is, that means that you're genetically predisposed. And so you have to watch that at a very early age. You can't just ignore it, so that you can make sure that you can, you know, address the symptoms and the issues, and hopefully prolong the diagnosis. If the diagnosis is forthcoming, hopefully you can prolong it. So that conversation is very important. What I'm also hearing from Jonathan, I didn't hear from Munch yet about it, but exercise is definitely very important. Making sure you get just, go ahead.
I just got into it. I just got back. I was gonna save it for later because I played ball, and the mental health played a large factor in that. Like
Right.
stopping. You know what I'm saying? So I could tell you for the last 15, I worked out seldomly. Like my job, my thing was I work hard moving stages and stuff like that. So that was my workout. But now I'm getting a little older. I'm telling them straight up, I'm like ordering people around because I don't want to lift all that stuff no more. But at the same time, one of the things that I've had to do with my mental health journey is establish a routine, and I understood that like exercise is an important part of mental health wellness. You know what I'm saying? So I had to get back into working out, and just like this morning, you know. So what I started out doing, what I used to do is 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups every day. And I just started out doing that. It started out as 25 because when I first went back, like 25 to 50. And then the next week I was like, I'm gonna do 100. Next week I was like, I'm gonna try to do 200. And then I was like, you know what? I need to pick up the weights again. So it's just been gradual. It ain't like I've been like consistent with it though. So
that's all right. You're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's
So like
where it starts. You
so
know, they
now
say
I'm way more consistent now.
excellent. But that's what they say, you know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You got to take that first step. So you both saying something that is going to segue into our next discussion. For those of you who just joined on, this is Ruban Roberts on with Jonathan Spikes and James Munchin. We are here for Men's Health Month. We just talked about the importance of getting checkups, the importance of exercise and physical fitness for those of you who want to maintain your health. And then what just came out of this, and this is the other part of our discussion, is mental health. So both James and Jonathan mentioned that the actual physical health part plays a part in your mental health. So I don't know if you guys saw a video of a guy, it was a commercial, lifting weights, and he had this he had like 325 on the bar. And then he tried to lift the weight, and then he put it down on his chest. And someone asked, "Can I help you?" He's like, "No, I got it. And the bar slid to his neck, and then, eventually they had to help him. And I'm using this example because that's much like what's happening with most men. So a lot of times we suffer in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we're too proud to ask for help, or we don't want to let folks know that we're experiencing certain pains, or we're experiencing certain symptoms of mental health, like depression or anxiety.
That's societal too.
Yeah, it is society. You're right.
I feel like it's more cultural and societal than anything. Like they always say, don't tell people your problems. Like everybody got problems. Those type of things that's being said all the time. And don't nobody want to hear what you're going through. Like everybody going through something, so you tend to just bottle it all in. Especially as men, we tend to bottle it all in.
Yeah, and when you bottle it in, trust me, it's just like pressure, what it does to a pipe. Eventually, it's going to be an explosion. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to talk about, and Jonathan, you're a clinician, I want you to talk about it from a clinical perspective. When we bottle this in, just like Munch just said, when we don't really get the help or the support that we need to deal with these issues that make us feel depressed, to make us feel anxious, to make us feel stressed out, what happens?
Everything that you all said, it really does break a person down. And so much so that I cannot tell you the amount of young men who I counsel that fathers, grandfathers, brothers told them the same thing that Munch said, that don't nobody care about your feelings. Well, is that really true? Some people do care about your feelings. It's okay to talk to somebody about how you feel. And as difficult it is to get them to understand that it is okay, and to give themselves permission to be vulnerable. And we understand where it comes from, a socio-cultural context of that we cannot show vulnerabilities, what came up earlier when you started this conversation today. But that is not normal. It is abnormal to go through life and hold everything that you're going through inside all by yourself and pent up, that you can't tell anyone, because it leads to anxiety, it leads to depression, it leads to post-traumatic stress disorder, and it leads to symptoms of bipolarism. So it is okay to talk about what you're going through. It's not normal to hold everything inside. It is good to release it.
Excellent. Munch, you want to add to that? Anything you want to add to that?
For me, I get a lot of flack on Facebook because of stuff I post, but a lot of times for me, they don't realize like that's my way of therapy. Like I got to get it out of my head. I can't keep it in my head. So I just say stuff sometimes because I know somebody else probably going through it, and then I just jump off social media so I don't have to read the comments. Like I'm being honest, I do this a lot, and Ruben, you hit me up a lot of times, and like other folks hit me up, and y'all will call me, and by that time I'm like, you're like, oh, he fine, you know what I'm saying? Right. But that's my way of getting it out sometimes, because I don't necessarily have an outlet, or I don't have anybody that really want to sit down and hear what's really going on in my head. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it is, Recently, like me and my like day one homie, like best friends since we were like 5 years old. We talk about this stuff like all the time now. So I don't have to go to the social media or go other places as much as I used to, because now I could just talk about it. When we was younger, when I was first dealing with mental health, like they didn't, we was all young and they didn't know they didn't even know mental health was a thing. You know what I'm saying? And we get to talking about like all our different struggles growing up. You know what I'm saying? And how like we be all amazed at how like all three like it was, I grew up with like me and another cat where we was just all tight. It was like just the three of us and in the neighborhood, and we talk about like just different situations that happen in our lives over time, whether it was family and different things. And we are like always so amazed to find out like I never knew that was going on, and I was in the house sleeping over every night. Like, what you talking about?
I would like to interject something you said. You said you really have nobody that you could talk to, but the most interesting thing that you turned around and said was, I have my homeboy who I could talk to, which means that he was always there. You didn't have to go and find him. He was always there.
Yeah. But it was a feeling like you couldn't talk about that stuff. And at that time, like he like I said, we was all young. So like at that time, they kind of dismissed it early on. So to me, it was now. Yeah, now it's different.
You have somebody, we all have somebody who would listen to us. So the fact of saying that there is nobody who wants to listen to us, strangers will listen to you.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody wants to hear you. You matter just that much that a stranger will even take the time to listen to your story.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Jonathan, but I don't want to dismiss what Munch is saying, because a lot of men feel that way.
Yeah,
a lot of men feel like, I mean, we've been told and what's been reinforced, and especially in certain communities, in the Black community, one of the things that we deal with is the stigma around mental health. And one of the things the stigma says is that if you have a mental a health issue or diagnosis, is that's a sign of weakness. But what people fail to realize, for us who are clinicians, we understand, because we look at the diagnostic tool, the DSM-5, and everyone that's listening to this has something that describes their issue in the DSM-5. There's not one human being that's exempt from that. But those of you who don't have the training, you may not know that. So it's not a sign of weakness. It is a part of life. The key is, how do you navigate? How do you deal with these different issues? So we have here someone saying that, feeling that no one wants to listen, and that the reality is not in alignment. And I agree. So one of the things is that, yeah, we have people that are there, but your reality may be you feel that you're alone. And how many times as men, we're dealing with issues, and our significant others are focusing on other issues, but they're not even aware of just the pressure that we're feeling, just the stress that we're dealing with, contending with. And then and you feel like if you were to share this information, that that is wrong for you to share. Well, meanwhile, you're the dumping part. You got to hear everybody else's issues. You got to hear and try to. And what do most men do? When we hear the issues, we try to resolve, right? So not only you trying to resolve their issues, right, but you got your stuff that you're dealing with that you don't have you feel like you have nobody to go to. Yep. So let's talk about that. I mean, how do you reconcile that as, a male? You have your significant other, they come home, baby, I just dealt with this today on my job. I got all of this going on, and then this is happening in my family, and the other thing is happening. My girlfriend just switched out on me, and you hearing all of that. But nevertheless, they're not even considering what you may be going through at that moment when they're loading all of that information on your side. How do you deal with that as men? Either of you can respond.
I would like to go first, and then much will bring it home. Yeah. There's a difference between listening and fixing. Just because someone share their pain with you does not mean I need you to fix it. And sometimes to get around that and to work through that is ask, well, what do you want me to do? Are you wanting me to fix it, or you need somebody to listen to hear you?
So you have
That's
to
how
check in to find out first.
you have to, which means you have to be intentional and listening to what they're saying, because sometimes it's bigger than you are. You can't fix it. It's bigger
Right.
than you. So you have to ask, are you telling me this to solve it, or you just need a listening ear? And right there, that'll break down some barriers, because then you don't have to be running in your head trying to find a solution while they're talking to you about something that really matters to them. And then you could take the pressure off thinking that you have to solve it when that's not what they're asking you to do. They just need you to hear them. And sometimes just a nod and a shake and goes a very long way.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, what he said. Nah, but for real, like, man, I know the first 15, 20 minutes me and my girl get on the phone after she get off work is just listen, dog. Like, just listen, dog. Just and truth be told, like, with me and my partner, like, she was always there for me in a way. So I give her that, like, she listened to what I go through. So like, I gotta listen to what she go through, because I'm gonna call and be like, yo, that's the person I call and used to be my go-to person. You know what I mean? Before anybody. So she had to hear it. So now when she be going through it, or when she at work, I just know, like, I had to learn that, Jonathan. I had to learn. Like, she had to tell me, I don't need you to fix it. You know what I mean? She told me straight out, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen to, let me vent for a minute. And sometimes she just get on the phone like, hey, I'm just gonna vent. And I'm like, okay. And I know, and the only thing you're supposed to say is okay. Okay? Don't say nothing else. Don't offer no suggestions. Don't do none of that. Just say okay. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I kind of navigate that. I know for a lot of my friends talking about, like, somebody will post something, like a lot of my friends will post something. And for me, I can recognize, because I go through it myself, and I'll pull up on them sometimes just to go holler at them. Cause I know in the moment they just want somebody to talk to. So I used to pull up on a lot of people who used to be putting some questionable stuff on Facebook or social media in general. And I would just hit them on the phone, be like, hey, I'm finna pull up, and one of my business partners, Danny, a lot of times when I text them sometimes, and they'll just pull up, you know what I'm saying? Just to hear what I got to say, Well,
it's good that support systems are extremely important. And I'm glad that you all are talking about that. For those of you who are listening, please, this is a very important conversation, especially dealing with right now, the advent of COVID, folks who lost loved ones who they didn't get a chance to see during their last stages, folks who have been just really just stressed out over, the high prices of rent, or your mortgage, gas prices, food. I mean, folks are really dealing with it today. And those of you who are listening to this, I encourage you to bring your friends on, share what's going on now. We only got about another 30 minutes, but share it. Let them know that this is a conversation. What you just heard now from two gentlemen, and I agree with them, I concur wholeheartedly, that they learned that even with their significant others, even though it's a natural tendency for men to try to fix the problem, that they learned that having the listening ear is far greater, more important. Being able to listen and hear, not try to fix, but just to be there and support the person that supports you is so very important. And so these are things that we want to make sure that your family members, your loved ones are hearing, and they're getting this information. We're going to go a little bit deeper into mental health. This is Men's Health Month. We talked about the importance of health and well-being. We talked about the importance of making sure you get your regular checkups, going to the doctor, making sure that you see a doctor that is culturally competent. We talked about the importance of the correlation between how your physical health can also affect your mental health. and that being diagnosed with a mental health diagnosis is not a sign of weakness, not something that you should feel stigmatized by, but it's important for you to do so. So again, my name is Ruban Roberts. I am the CEO of RER Consulting, and my two signature programs are Teen Talk and the COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program. And tonight we're talking about men's health, honoring Men's Health Month. This is the Health and Wellness Wednesday. This is the first of a series of Wellness Wednesday talks that we'll be having at 7 p.m. on Facebook Live. So I want to encourage all of you to go to this website, mymentalhealthmiami.com. mymentalhealthmiami.com. On that website, there is a survey in the upper right corner. We want you to make sure that you take the survey. I think everybody on this panel has taken the survey. With that survey, you'll receive your scorecard. Your scorecard will then tell you where you fall on the spectrum of stress, depression, anxiety, and level of support. And with that, they'll give you information about a care coordination team that if you need some additional support, that you can get the support. Let me tell you this. We function under such high degree of stress, under such high degree of anxiety every day to where we normalize it. We normalize stress, anxiety, and depression. And so when we normalize it, we're not even aware of how stressed out we are. We're not even aware of how depressed we are. And so that's why it's important, because as you go deeper into that depression, as you go deeper into that stress, now those mental issues that you have become more severe. Those physical issues that you have become more severe. So we want to make sure that you attend to that. We also have a care coordination team. The number is 786-433-8487. 786-433-8487. Their hours are usually from 9 to 5. If you want to leave a message afterwards, after 5, you can leave a message and someone will contact you to follow up with you to find out, if there's some concerns that you have. But we encourage you again to make sure you go to the website, to mymentalhealthmiami.com, do the survey, take the survey, and make sure that you find out what your score is. Know your score. And then after you know your score, do something about it. Get some help if you need some help. Encourage your family members to take the survey as well. So now let's go into this now. Talk to me about, Jonathan, about, what is mental health and wellness? What does it mean? And how does it affect us as men in general?
So as I look at mental health, it is your emotional self, right? Your spiritual self, all that is part of wellness. So if I am depressed, I won't feel like doing anything. I may overeat or not eat at all. I may be sad, sit in the house crying. Or if I have anxiety, I'm nervous, I'm bouncing around like a bumblebee, just going. And neither one of those are healthy for your wellness. Right? Because if you're always going, the Energizer Bunny Rabbit is going to run out of energy one day. And oftentimes it winds up with you in the hospital. And if you are always having, if you are dealing with depression and not getting treated for it, that means I cannot function. I cannot go to work. I cannot play with my kids. I cannot do the things that I need to do in order to function in life. And if you're not doing either of those things, then that means you're not having wellness in your life. Wellness means balance, right? Balance within yourself, balance within your spiritual self, balance within the family, the friends, your loved ones, balance on your job. That is all a part of mental health. Even the foods we eat can affect your mental health, your gut. It's the first sign that something is going on. That's why people who come from trauma in their childhood often have abdominal problems. That's exactly where my cancer started, in my stomach. That's because I came up with a lot of post-traumatic stress throughout my life course when I was younger. So even the foods we eat is a part of wellness and a part of your mental health. And so that's why we say take care of your wellness, take care of your spiritual self, your physical self. Go to the doctor, okay? Talk to people, find support and support others. That is all a part of mental health. That is all a part of wellness.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Now, Munch, I'm going to ask you to share whatever you feel comfortable about sharing regarding your journey with some of the things that you dealt with related to mental health.
Oh man, I always I didn't even realize I was dealing with stuff until after I had like went to Jackson Mental Health. I think it's Jackson Behavioral Mental Health or something like that. But I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't know it was stigmatized in my family. They didn't understand it until I went through it. You know, so because I was the person who was always on the up and up, I was always like the one they didn't have to worry about. I was always the child that made all the straight A's and B's. So they never had to check up on me. I never had too many issues. And I guess the first time, you know, I always felt down about things, or I always experienced it, but I never acknowledged it until after that experience when I was like 21. And then it was hard. Even coming out of it, I still was like in denial. Like I don't have no mental, I ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like because of the stigma around it. And I just was like, you know, I blamed the medication, the experience that I had in Jackson system at the time was just horrible. Just being blunt about it. It was just horrible for me. And I just was drugged, and I didn't. That's how I felt. They just drugged me, and I didn't want no medication. And me and Jonathan had this conversation. He tried to get me on the medication.
Did I really? I don't remember that conversation.
No, we talk about it. We talk about it here and there, but you done got me some help. You know what I'm saying? You know, he liked to shy away from it, but it's like with me, it's been a long journey of like accepting that I do have a issue, or I do experience these emotions and things like that. And then from there is like trying to go get help, different things. Like one of the things, like I remember I was just snapping. I remember I would just be agitated and snapping. That was one of the things that made me like realize like, hold on, you got a problem. Like I remember a few business relationships went in the trash. Like, you know, I was just like, whoa, something's going on. And friends was going to the side, all the different things was happening, and I was like, let me go get help. So first time I went to go get help, I'll throw out names because I'm just that transparent, but I ain't gonna do it today. But I went to like different therapists. I had to pay a lot of money because I ain't had no insurance. So I spent a lot of money doing that. And I got frustrated, you know, with the process, because at some point I just was like, you know, I didn't want the medication. I was like, I didn't need medication before this. Why I need medication now? You know what I'm saying? And they had to come tell me after a while, like, hey, you know, the medication speed the process up a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier for you, you know, because different things are going on. And then I had most recently, the last therapist I had, because I don't went through many of them. The last therapist I had, we went through CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Right. And that helped me a lot because I'm one of the people, I just got a strong mind. I'm strong in my thoughts, and y'all know this. So when I believe I feel it, way, you know, just be straight up with me. And that helped me with managing how I deal with my thoughts and emotions and stuff like that, and be present in the moment, you know. That was a big thing, is being present in the moment, you know, and then letting it pass, you know. So because a lot of times you get mad and you hold on to it, and then it fester, and that ain't good either. So right. You know, I just went through a whole mix of emotions. I've gotten help periodically. I've gone in and out of getting help. And then now I'm just like, yo, I know what I need. You know, I need, like at one point I was just like, I know what I need. And it's not so much of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, but it's like, it's that self-determination to be like, nah, I gotta get better. So even things that I didn't want to do, like I went back again. I went back again January. And this time I didn't even realize I was going through nothing. It's like y'all said, I was stressing and didn't even know. The doctor told me, I was like, what are you talking about? I was sitting at home fine. You know, I was just vibing. But truth be told, I did feel some certain things like in between. I tried to control it. I tried to mask it. People was putting their issues and I was like just pushing it away. But I had to deal with that. And this time going in, I was more receptive to taking the medication to get better. This time, but I'm not on it now. They took me off it, so I don't have to be on the medication. I exercise. One of the most important things I think that I got from therapy was establishing a routine. That's the main thing, like the morning routine, because waking up for me and going to sleep was like, I had problems going to sleep. My mind is always like racing. So I had problems going to sleep. And then when I would wake up in the morning, because I didn't get that much sleep because my mind racing, I would wake up like irritable, you know, whether it be depression, anxiety. I dealt with a lot. Even to the point of like work, to the point where I just didn't want to go to work. And that's not me. Like, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go grind. You know what I'm saying? And I was in the bed, like covers over my head every day. But every morning I crack. So nowadays I crack my blinds. So in the morning, the sunlight, I gotta have natural sunlight in the morning. The sun wake me up. I gotta go outside. I sat in nature for some time. My friend, I'm not gonna lie, when my friend passed in the middle of COVID-19, that threw me off. And I just had to spend a lot of times in nature. You know, I had to really be outside. I had to walk bare feet in the grass. I did all type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that, you know, even then, like I think about early in my journey, like I was playing football. You know, I had a strict schedule. I was playing football, I had a routine every day. And when I stopped playing ball, that stopped. I stopped doing all that. I stopped working out. I stopped doing all these things. So now me realizing that is like, all right, you got to get back to you. You got to get back to what makes you happy, do things that make you happy. And you got to exercise and do just different things. And so now it's just been like picking 3 things I want to do out of the week. And I just, for whatever reason, I just go and I just go do it. Whether it's on my own or somebody come with me, I just, like, I wanted to go horseback riding. I got that coming up. I'm gonna go horseback riding because gas prices is getting high. I'm gonna learn.
So what you saying? You gonna buy you a horse now? You gonna be riding?
Buy me a horse, man. I might get me a horse, man. Might get me a horse. You might catch me out here riding. I like the Everglades. So I went on a nature trip to the Everglades. And so I just do things that, you know, I don't nowadays, especially because I'm a full-time entrepreneur, I somewhat can do it now. Where I just, if I want to wake up today and the best thing for me to do today is to go to the beach, I go to the beach.
James.
You know?
So go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said a lot, right?
You did. You did say it a lot.
Y'all told me to be honest. I'm being honest.
But I'm going to tell you that.
Let me say this. The things that you said, I want to say this, and then Jonathan, I want you to go ahead. What you said, you've given people information that's very important. So I want you to say that. I mean, for you, what you just did just now,
yeah,
if they play it back, you've given information that's very important. One of the major signs of depression is people just can't get out of bed. And one of the reasons why they can't get out of bed because they have the drapes drawn, it's pitch black dark in their room. For you to say, I need to have that light coming in. And then I need to go outside. I need to put my foot in the grass. I need to do these things. I need to find out what type of activity do I have a desire to do and then make that happen. that information that you just shared, trust me, for people who are going through situational depression or even major depression, if they follow what you just said that you did, that is like, that's food for your soul and your mental health and your well-being. So I want to tell you as a therapist, that is something that is major, what you just shared. And I'm sure Jonathan can expound on that too, but you may not know it, but there's somebody that may be listening to this right now. And just the information, you sharing your story, is going to be very helpful to them. Yes. So I really appreciate that. That's why you're on here now. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Yes. First of all, James, thank you for your transparency and your vulnerability. I support you in everything that you just said. And I appreciate hearing your testimony and your story right now, because what you said was, I recognized that I had a problem, but I resisted getting help. It got worse. I still resisted. It got worse. I ended up in the hospital. Yep. Right? I resisted taking the medication, but I knew that I needed to take the medication in order to get better. Not only did I take the medication, but I also began to do talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, which talked about my thoughts and my feelings and my behaviors. And based upon the talk therapy, that you did the work that was required to make those connections, to think new thoughts and then begin to manifest different behaviors. And you didn't just go to one session or two sessions or three sessions. You did everything that was required of you in order for you to function, right? So you went through the entire process, although you resisted it. Yeah. You still went through the process, and you see the manifestations of you going through the process, that you are functioning, fully functioning, able to run a business and able to sit here and tell a story here in coherent fashion. And we appreciate that. I definitely appreciate it. I was just about to do a backflip. And when you carry that story, because I was like, yes. Congratulations.
And all that I heard, Munch, is strength.
Yeah.
So this misnomer that if you have a diagnosis is weak, everything that you showed me is your strength to overcome whatever it was that you were dealing with.
Yeah.
That takes strength. That takes tenacity. That takes, you have to be willing to endure, because nobody knows what you're fighting against. Because every step that you make, there's something in your head telling you, don't do it. Yeah. That thing that tells you to go out to the sun, that tells you to put your feet in the grass, there's a voice telling you, don't do it, man. Don't even trip. Don't even bother with that. You understand? And folks who are going through that need to understand, you're going to experience that. The thing that you know what's best for you or what you should do, you're going to always find some resistance internally that tries to discourage you from doing the things that you do. But the reason why you were successful is because of your strength. And that's the thing that folks really need to hear. And those of you who are watching this, I swear you're getting some gems, you're getting some jewels. I hope, especially for Black men, that you're sharing this information with them. Even if they're not here now, make sure you share this video. It's going to be on Facebook. You share this, because this is information a lot of us have to deal with. We suffer so much in silence, and we don't even know how to deal with what we're dealing with. You hear someone right now who's very transparent, and I agree. I appreciate your transparency and sharing with you how they're dealing with it. It's not like it's over.
It ain't never over. Process. It's an ongoing process. Yeah. It's a whole mental exercise. Like, I tell people all the time, like, I go on a walk every day. I go on a walk around the neighborhood every day. Just trying to get my thoughts out of my head. Sometimes, and that walk, that it's like 45 minutes. I go around my whole neighborhood, but that walk give me so much clarity some days that I can, it's like, some days I feel like I'm not walking in my purpose and other things like that. I just go on a walk. And then I go back and I say, well, I look at, I'm in my room. I look at like a lot of these white sheets that I have in there. Like I scribble on paper a lot and journal things a lot. I learned I had to journal things a lot, like just get it out of my head. And everything that you know, when I think I'm not walking in my purpose, I'm like, I did everything that's on this paper, you know, and I have to give myself credit and celebrate the small wins. You know, I
Right.
used to not celebrate the small wins. I used to be like, I'm not there yet, you know,
That's
and
right. You better
yeah,
preach, brother. That what you just said?
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I have cognitive distortions. My thoughts are distorted.
yeah,
And I recognize that they're distorted. So what I do is I go back to nature, because nature is your calling. It makes you whole, it makes you complete, feeling the sun, taking your shoes off and walking through the grass. That's what you just said. I go to my calling so I could become well and at peace. And then I challenge those distortions by saying, thank you for the small things that I accomplish each and every day. It's not the big thing that makes the difference. It's the little small things, like Ruben said earlier. How do you eat an elephant? Piece
yeah,
by piece.
my
One
peace.
bite at a time. Listen, this conversation is so great. Listen, but we're a couple of minutes from ending. I wanted us to talk about the correlation between gun violence and mental health and post-traumatic stress disorder and how that is affecting us. But that's going to be tabled for our next week's discussion. But what I want to do is I want to give you guys, in closing, a couple of minutes to say some things. We'll start with you, Jonathan. Share some information about what you got coming up, and whatever else that you'd like to share, and then we'll go to Munch, and then I'll say some closing remarks.
I would like to say thank you all for listening today. And Ruben, thank you for putting this great exercise together. This is my second iteration of participating in this, in an event like this. And it's better and better each and every time. It was an honor to sit here and serve with James, somebody I admire and I look up to, and I do business with. You know, he's a great
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
I appreciate his journey, right? I really do. And it's because of him and stories like his help me become and do the work that I do, because his story is not unique, right? It's something I often hear behind closed doors in counseling sessions with young kids. Most of my clients are young boys, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's the majority of my client population. And just like James tell his story, and just like he had to dismantle all of those structural blocks in his life and begin to deal with self, that's the same kind of work that we do. So therapy is work. Most people think you're just going to come and sit on the couch and just talk. No, therapy requires work. The work does not begin, it begins in the office, but the real work begins when you begin to incorporate the strategies that you're learning into your everyday life to do the things that you need to do in order to ensure that you have wellness. That is the thing that therapy is all about, ensuring that you have the wellness, that you have to do the work. And if you don't do the work, then you will not have wellness. So thank you for this platform. I have a lot of other things to say, but we'll talk about that. We could take that for another day, because today belongs to Men's Health Month and the great story of overcoming by my friend James.
I'm just here. I'm glad y'all let me speak my truth, you know, let me get it out. This is therapeutic. Y'all don't realize, like, I like doing things like this because because I know other people dealing with it's therapeutic for me.
Yeah,
like
it's cathartic.
So for me, I like to talk. I like to get it out of my head, not have to deal with it no more. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, Ruben, for championing me, making me, you didn't make me do it, but hit me up. Hit me up and saying, hey, I need you on this one, right? So yeah, anytime I can help, that's the one thing that's helped me through my journey, is helping other people. Many times my friends were like, a lot of people, one of my classmates, she say, every time it's like, I know you be going through it, but you just, I like how you just be always there for other people. And sometimes that's what we got to do. I think we lose that a lot of times, being empathetic, for other people. And so I just appreciate y'all just letting me come up here and speak my truth,
Listen, man, not only did you speak your truth, but you dropped gems. You dropped several gems. So yeah, it is cathartic, even though it's helping you. While it's helping you, you're helping others. And to me, that's so very valuable. But that's who you are, Munch. Ever since I know you, you've always been about helping your community, helping giving back. And this right here tonight is another example of that. And I thank you. I really thank you. And I honor you, my brother. I really honor you for being the man that you are. No one knows but you, what you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows how you fight just to make it day to day. You know what I mean? You understand that. And I appreciate you. And I'm always here for you, bro. I'm sure the same was with Jonathan. I'm always here for you no matter what. This ain't lip service. You know, when I say it, I mean it. I don't say stuff I don't mean. And I'm saying it, and it's on video. So, you know, Kodak don't lie. So, you know. Yeah. Hey, Ruben, you said it on video. That's right. I said it because I mean it. But I appreciate you. The other thing is, I appreciate you too, Jonathan. One of the things that we have to learn to do as a part of men's health is to love each other, not in no perverted way, but in an honorable way.
Yes.
And we sometimes we seem to lose that as men. We can love and support each other, right? In an honorable way. You see your brother taking a fall, the Bible says restore one, such a one in the spirit of righteousness. I ain't no big Bible thumper, but I know the word. But I'm just simply saying to you, that's something that we need. And that's another issue regarding men's health and wellness and why we struggle. It's because brothers don't feel that they have, just like Munch said, anybody to hear them. They don't feel like they have someone that they can really open up and be transparent with, you know? And so for the brother to be transparent on this live tonight, for us to be able to talk about some real issues that we deal with as men, but not only talk about it, we talked about solutions. And I want to end on that note about the solutions. The solutions is to always have your good support system that you can communicate with, talk about your issues, whether they be mental health issues or what have you. Make sure that you share whatever it is that you're experiencing with a loved one, with a friend, with a close connection. Make sure that you get yourself checked out mentally and physically. And understand that if your physical health is starting to fail, it can lead to some mental health issues. Understand that we have grown up in an environment where we have a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. We didn't go over it tonight, but a lot of times we're misdiagnosed. That doesn't mean you don't seek services because of misdiagnosis. That means that you find a culturally competent practitioner that can work with you, whether it's on the medical side, whether it's on the mental health side. You find that culturally competent practitioner that can work with you. And the last thing I want to say is that you should be your biggest investment. You should be your biggest investment. Don't invest in what car you drive. Don't invest in what clothes you wear. Don't invest in the jewelry. Don't invest in the bling and trying to impress everyone else. There's only one you. There's only one you. And if you invest in you, all of those other things that your heart desires, you can acquire. But when you're not well, when you don't take care of yourself mentally and physically, then you will ultimately be lacking. So I want to thank you all for watching us tonight. We're wrapping up. I want to encourage you again to go to mymentalhealthmiami.com and to also to do the survey. The survey's in the right-hand corner, and to also call our care line if you need any information about mental health or medical services or environmental services. Environmental, I mean food, shelter, clothing, whatever it is. And you can get that information at 786-433-8487. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully you'll share this, and hopefully you've gained something from what we talked about tonight. These are three brothers just keeping it real with you, and we appreciate you. This is the COVID Mental Health and Wellness Program. We encourage you to go to our website, make sure that you check it out, get some affirmation, get the information that you need. Make sure that you make sure that you come out. Johnny, did you talk about your event on the 23rd?
Share your experience gun violence event is going to be on June 23rd at between 4 and 6 p.m. at the Charles Hatley Park at the Kerry Meek Center there at the park. But I'll share the flyer with you, Mr. Robertson. Thank you.
All right. And then we have also, in addition to the series of our COVID mental, our Wellness Wednesdays, we have also our Community Mental Health Wellness series. We're going to be at Demps Park on June 18th, starting at 12. We invite you to come out. There's going to be barbecue, food. There's going to be yoga exercises, because what we emphasize when we talk about mental health is mental health and wellness. So we want to make sure that you understand that there are things that you can do, like Munch talked about, that can really contribute to your wellness. So we thank you all for participating and joining us tonight. Reach out to us if you have any questions, and we wish you all the best. One love. It's Ruben Roberts signing off. All right.